last week on Brago 24/7.
And you talk about how my kids, blended. They've been on the journey with me because they all knew, right? So and they had questions that were legitimate.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to them like I tried to explain to Philip and Carolyn and the rest of the family. And not that it made it perfect, but it's just what it was. And so when all of this is coming together, they're like, they're happy for me. They're still disappointed in some ways.
Of course.
And Keith had a meltdown.
Yeah, he struggled with it.
Oh, he did.
When he said, he was like, hey,
yeah,
we're coming down here now, and now you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Hi, I am your host, Lyanette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors.
Just give me my space to move. 'Cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want.
They were ready to meet the family and see me in the midst of the family. And that was
And your mom just
and they loved
passed
it.
away as well this year.
And my mother had passed away
January.
In January.
January.
Yeah.
And
It's been a lot for you, Keith.
well, yeah. It's been, life is a lot for everybody. It's just, I don't, but when your kids hurt,
Yeah.
or when they have moments, and then it just kind of touches you in a little different way.
Sure.
But it's been a journey. It's been a
It's like family is everything. And when you have that missing link, which is what I felt was going on with Keith, because, he had, I hate using the word stepdad, but, his father
He was daddy
was
to
in the
me.
home with him. Yeah. His extended family, his sisters and brothers, they were all aunts and uncles and very loving. And those were their kids, their nieces and nephews. So it wasn't like he missed out on any love, because he had it coming from every direction, but there was always that missing piece, of his biological dad and his siblings, and when he was finally able to make that connection, I think that was more fulfilling, for him, to have that.
Yeah, because you go through. If I visit Little Rock, then I'm going to think about it for a while, and I'm going to go through. But as a matter of fact, when I found out the address
On Rice Street.
on Rice Street, I thought I'd drive past there every now and then, just shoot past, And then every now and then I admit, every now and then I thought, I'm gonna knock on this door.
Here I am.
So, and Lisa and I, we went by for the first time, and that was kind of a thing too. You walk in and you imagine what the home would look like, because I had my youngest sister Holly and a cousin who lived in Little Rock. They were going out on a date, and they ended up at the house.
On Cleveland Street.
Oh, Cleveland. I'm sorry, Cleveland.
So the house that you grew up in.
They live there now.
The house that I grew up in, yeah.
Right.
So that was the house that when I was first grade to now is
Right.
where I was.
So Holly tells the story how she walked in and she's going up the steps with my cousin, and Pops walks in, and she said when he looked at her, it was like he had saw a ghost, because Holly favors my mother
A lot.
a lot. An awful lot. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he hadn't seen photos of Holly, because Holly was a high fashion model. So she was, mom was proud of her. So I didn't know how much mom and pops talked, but they definitely, had, just because of me, for starters, me and Daryl, So there was some connection there. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if photo was shared. So I don't know if he had ever seen her, or this. My first instinct is that she reminded him of my mother, and she said he stared at her like. So in my mind, though, it wasn't about that. In my mind, why? How did she get in that house?
Yeah. And she knew.
I've been trying to get in the house.
She knew that was your dad.
No.
When she went, she didn't know.
No, but she knew later because mom and her talked
together
a lot.
Wow.
They were very close. So
What a
when she would tell her about the date and tell her who it would have been probably Everett at home at that time, and Carolyn. So that's the connection.
What a coincidence.
And she said, and I thought, man, but I would always imagine those steps.
Yeah.
And Holly going up those steps. And when I walked in the house, I saw the steps.
Yeah.
And then that kind of brought that story back to my mind. And then when Lisa and I walked through the house, we saw the photos. And then Lisa, what she does the comparison stuff. That looks just like you on the wall. I said, well, okay, whatever. That's.
When was this that you were able to go to the house?
Oh man, that's a good question. It was at least a couple of years prior to the pandemic. Would you say?
Okay.
Or
he was still at home, and he had a caregiver that would come in.
Right.
I can't remember what year it was exactly, but there was a lady that he referred to her as his cousin
Okay.
that would come in and
Isn't the
Take
house
care of
like
them.
stuck in the 70s? Did you get that vibe? When I first went to that house, I was like, I'm like, where are we? And what year are we?
Well, think about it. When I started imagining this, this went too far off the 70s, so it was exactly the way I imagined it.
No, Philip's like, this is how it's always been since I was little. I was like, you think? You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I'm sure it was a lovely home back in the day. It was like
was.
top notch.
So we had a debriefing after the Father's Day, and the kids were on their way back. Keith has settled down. He was settled down because he had a great time with everybody, and they were all, oh man, that was really cool.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it, and they, mentioned everybody's name, and so they were engaged, and I was happy that they were happy, and yeah.
So we're just moving
Some things I can't
forward
finish.
now.
Some things I can't just finish,
Yeah.
because the thought is just there. But
Fresh.
yeah, they really enjoyed themselves.
But I remember we met, we had come down, and Janelle and Keith were both out of college.
Yes.
We met for,
At his favorite breakfast place,
at the Pancake
House.
House.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And they really grilled him.
Oh, they did. Oh, yes.
Really?
He told my mother, that daughter,
Janelle?
What do you say? she's something else. She asked a lot of
wore
questions.
him out.
Ooh, let's talk about this. Can we share some of the
Did
questions?
she tell you any of the things that she asked?
Well, I was there.
Okay.
We were there.
What was
We were there.
Share.
Well, okay, so Janelle said, okay, if Dad was to, or no, if you were to tell someone about Dad, which one of your kids would you tell first? And he said, well, he said Kenneth. So Kenneth really was my mark. I was trying to get to Kenneth initially.
I wonder why. Because he's
I don't
not
know.
the gatekeeper. I'm just letting you.
No, I
That's shocking. Maybe because he would be more.
well, now, it makes sense now though. Philip has him at too high esteem,
Yeah.
and this information has got to trickle down.
Yeah.
Deidre, he thought would be
The most upset.
yes. And I guess John Kevin and the rest of them, they just fell wherever they fell in the process. So she said, okay. And she would ask, why haven't you told them? And when are you going to tell them? Janelle was just on and on. And some of the questions he didn't answer. He compartmentalized them.
Really?
He put them in a box, so to speak. But she didn't stop her. She just kept going, and she said, and they kept looking at me when they asked the question.
Ask.
Ask your question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ask your question.
Yeah.
You can't do any wrong here.
So that was Janelle and Keith Jr.
It was Janelle, Keith, Tyler, all the kids were
Everybody.
All of them.
there. All of them were there.
Y'all at AHA.
Where I?
No, on
Pancake House.
Pancake House.
Yeah.
And
I know that Pancake House too.
Well, it's funny too because when I would come down sometimes, and he and I would go there, and people would go, "Hello, Mr. Talley," or "Hello, Jen," or "Oh, that's my neighbor," and this is Keith. And it was stop.
And that was it.
We didn't. And you know what? I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
bust that up. I just said, "I'm Keith from St. Louis." Yeah, but I did see some of the people go back.
Yeah.
You had that look, like
Who is this person?
Well, and you look so much like him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You look so much like him that
Yes.
you can't deny that.
Yeah. Well,
That was also easy to accept. Because it'd be different if Keith was, short and really dark skinned.
I mean,
you
Keith
know.
looks more like your dad than John Kevin does.
True.
And you guys have the same parents. And I've always wondered where he comes from. Sorry, John Kevin.
no.
We love you, but he don't look like any of you. I'm just saying.
No, I
I've said this to his face, everybody.
Yeah,
I've
but
said
I
it to
think
his face.
what's funny is though, at the funeral, the next door neighbor, she came up to me and got right in my face as close as she could, and she said, "Philip, Philip." Oh, I said, "No, Philip's outside." Oh my God, you look so much like him.
You do.
And so
You do look like
Dad even said that.
who's? Oh yeah,
When
yeah.
we went
Pops
to
even
see
said
him
that.
at the residential facility he was at,
The cottages.
and you had walked away to take a phone call, and he was sitting in his wheelchair, and I was standing there with him, and he said, "He looks just like Philip, doesn't he?" I'm like,
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, you all look. It's the head. It's like the shape of the
Well, that's
head.
what Janelle said.
Yeah.
Because when Janelle came, we were at a breakfast place that weekend. Daddy passed away. So I think all of y'all were here. Janelle came in first, and she went straight to our table.
She's like,
It was the head.
yeah, she's like, I noticed that head. I knew it had to be you. And I'm sure she's seen pictures of you too, but still, you guys know
No,
that
she
head.
knew the head.
Yeah, the head is,
Which was funny because Janelle is a lot like Carolyn.
yes.
She is.
And Keith said that, and y'all said that a year ago. But when I actually saw her, I was like, oh yeah, I can
That was
see
your
why.
first thought, wasn't it?
I can see why y'all compared her to Carolyn because they are peas in the pod. Same spirit, same outgoing.
Take charge attitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For
Great delegators.
yes. Yes. The best.
They get it done, though. They get it done. They dive right in.
You know, Carolyn listens to this, so be kind.
Oh, Carolyn knows.
Watch your words.
Carolyn knows. She is an awesome delegator.
Yes, she is.
She's Miss Take Charge for sure.
So I want to move on to something else, but before, like, going back to when you started searching, you said Kenneth was like your target. Well, did you try to reach out to Kenneth?
No,
Or-
I told my cousin that I'm trying to reach Kenneth, but Kenneth, that didn't come up. Mm-hmm. So Ronnie came up, and then Ronnie,
which is a cousin.
cousin, then Ronnie contacted Philip because I told Ronnie that my niece had came across that promotional film and mentioned Philip, so that put Philip in the mix, and Ronnie really gave me a bit of calm, and I came out and told Lisa right away. I said, he said, because I said to him, I don't know how they're going to feel, but I need to make this happen now. He said, well, I'm going to tell you, they're going to love it. He said, I think you're going to be surprised.
He said that?
Yeah.
Really?
I think you're going to be surprised. And that was...
Lisa was very skeptical, which I would be more like you. I would be very skeptical too.
Yeah, because this is not something that happens every day.
Yeah.
True.
You know, you live your whole life and then all of a sudden, bam, you got a whole new family.
So
You
true.
know.
And then seeing your dad in a different light is, yeah.
And then I got to talk to John Kevin, then Carolyn. By that time, the photo has been sent to Carolyn and John Kevin.
Yeah, he had individual conversations with each of the siblings before.
And then I was told...
Before the big reveal on Zoom.
I was
Okay.
told, hey, everybody else is going to be it's going to be good with this.
Yeah.
We're glad we have this brother. But Deidre,
They don't know.
Deidre, we don't know. And I told Lisa, I said, hey, I'm ready for Deidre. I'm just gonna love her and hug her, and we're gonna see what happens
Yeah.
here. And when
And Deidre was even more sweeter than Kim.
I don't understand why Dee
Such
would
a
be the one.
sweetheart.
She is so sweet. I'm
She is sweet, but Deidre is very protective, being the oldest.
That's what they...
Because
that's
she
what
had
they
to
were
be
saying.
the one to, take care and babysit basically all of us. I mean, I would spend time with Deidre in Pine Bluff, and, she took care of me.
she's sweet though.
and
She took care of all of us, basically, for being the oldest.
No, when I was gonna meet the family, Carolyn was the one that I was like, oh boy. I wasn't afraid of anybody. I'm like, that Carolyn though, I gotta get through her to get to the family.
And,
That's how I see it.
well, and the other impression I got was Deidre was on the other end of Philip.
Yeah,
Daddy couldn't do any
that's
wrong.
very true.
That
Yeah.
is
And I think that
That is true.
a mindset as well.
That is
and
true.
when I said hello to Deidre, she says, "Oh, I'm so glad." I said,
Look at here.
"Yeah, you know what I mean? That's it. This is complete now." When she said that, I said, "Oh wow." I said, well, I didn't even go over whether or not she was going to be the hardest or the toughest. I was she was so straightforward with her thought, and I just sucked it on in and said, "Hey, that it's a lesson in life.
Yeah.
Don't conjure up, especially when you're conjuring up something negative."
So true.
And I never conjured up anything like that. I was told she was going to be difficult, but not in my mind.
Yeah.
And in my heart. I was going to allow her to
It's a challenge for you. I'm
allow
gonna win her
to be
over.
wherever she was,
Yeah.
But in my mind, we were going to connect. So
and talking like with friends and stuff, in-laws come up a lot. And no, my in-laws this, my in-laws that. I've never, and they were like, oh, Lyanette, you're full of crap. No, I don't have anything bad to say about that side of the family. They're so accepting. You know, a lot of you all have been married multiple times, and then there's steps, which, like, at least I don't like to use, but, you know, to paint the image, there's a lot of steps and you know, non-blood relatives, quote unquote cousins and nieces, and they just accept everyone to be family, whether they're blood or not. And they're not fake. They're just, you know where they stand, you know, and it's not in an ugly way or in a, you know, conniving way. It's like, you just, it's so hard to describe because most in-laws don't have, you know, everyone always has something crappy to say about their in-laws. And the Talley family, for me, they're just so amazing, and they just accept everyone. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I have to jump on that wagon with you. My in-laws are just the best.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like I don't have sisters, so my husband's sisters, Phyllis, Renata, and Holly, are like my sisters. I mean, and his brothers are like my other brothers. You know, they have always been so loving and just never had an issue. If they do have a problem with you, you're going to know it because they're going to tell you, you know. But just, I don't have that in-law problem, you know, like a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, talking about that, the other connection that need to take place somewhere along the line is for them, my brothers and sisters, to meet my brothers and sisters.
That's true.
You know, because
That would be really fun.
you know, and I know this is a little tricky for them as well. Now, my oldest brother and sister, Carl and Phyllis, knew.
Oh,
They knew all the time.
okay.
They knew all the time. My oldest brother is indifferent about how he feels about Pops.
Yeah.
Of course. He is, there's no kindness in his lips.
For him.
Yeah. Because he may have saw, it could have been a savior from the stepfather type of thing, you know, because since they didn't get along so well, you know, yeah. And then they don't want to lose me.
Yeah.
Right.
Which they can't. That's impossible.
Of course.
No.
You know, it's absolutely
never happen.
impossible. But
Yeah.
I think it, you know, I know relationships are hard to, you know, cultivate. You know,
True.
it takes time. It takes conversations. And, But I think they would just feel good. And I think and I won't say anything, but I think the first thing they will say to the Talley side of the family, they'll say, y'all can't have him. Y'all cannot have him. That's
It's like a war. Keep us in the middle.
I changed his pamper, you know, or diaper, you know, pampers in. I changed his diaper, you know. That's what they would say, you know, and I'm sure the Talley family say, hey, we don't want to take him. We just want to, you know,
Love him.
Yeah.
we want to love. Yeah.
It's like an extension of what you already have.
Yeah.
So are you okay with talking about Daryl? Because we're talking a lot about you.
Yeah.
And Daryl
Yeah.
was your guys' brother as well.
Yep.
And I remember when we first met you, I was like, well, what about the other brother? Well, he passed. And I'm like, well, we don't know anything about, like, I wanted to know more about him.
So Daryl, went into the service, had a medical discharge from the military, and Daryl was he was a little upset that Pops, and I say Pops, I always said John before. You know, I tried Daddy, and in the early going, it was just too many daddies. You know,
Pops is good. I like.
So I did Pops because John Kevin was on the call. You know, I couldn't. But
That's true.
Daryl was disappointed, and he didn't talk to me about that as much. We were very close, but it just wasn't a conversation that we had all the time. But I know he had a conversation with my mother. I believe he probably had the conversation with my niece, Lamanya, who's his daughter. And I think she had she had the same kind of, really? John Talley?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. You know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And his was legitimate. Every question in this situation is legitimate.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, everything could have played out different with one thing changing, whatever that was.
Yeah.
You know, John sending me a present. He and I, present could have changed everything. We don't. You just never know.
Yeah.
But and he passed in
2000, I think.
2000. Mm-hmm. He was we were close. All of my siblings, we just close. Just we did everything together. We loved each other.
I commend you, Keith, because I feel like you have such a forgiving and understanding spirit. I think I would be more like Daryl in that situation where it's like, this side of the family thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, John Talley and the community, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I would be like, well, what about me? Like, what about, and especially how you, kind of shared and about your guys' dad that you grew up with. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the most, he was tough on you all. And just thinking, well, man, I wish I could have been raised with this loving, quote unquote, loving man that is being described on this side. I would be very bitter. So I would be more like Daryl, very kind of not as forgiving.
I think most people would be.
Yeah.
So just seeing you and just the way you're just like, well, it is what it is. And it worked out the way I'm like, I think that's amazing. I don't know if you went through the ups and downs of that.
Well, okay.
I would be angry.
Yeah. Well,
Very angry.
But I think Keith's mother poured so much love into her kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same as a father's love, but she just gave so much. And it's like I'm not speaking for Keith, but he probably didn't feel like he missed, that love from, I started calling him JT, but he probably didn't feel like he missed that love from him. But I think speak on that.
Well, I think, okay, my family knows that whatever's going on in their life, I am not going to be the judge of it. Okay, I'm not going to be the judge of it. I'm not saying I'm perfect in not being the judge, but they know they can bring it to me. And I always get a rap. My mother would say it. If you talk to my sister, they will lead in. Okay, I know you're gonna see the good in this.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what he or she did. And I said, well, let me hear it. We'll talk about it. And they would give me the scenario, and I would go, well, I do understand your side. However, things, and that's me. My mother, she said, I don't want to talk to you because you're gonna say it's okay.
Yeah.
That's now. I'm not agreeing with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will tell them, now, this may not be what you want to hear, and I just try to give them my best. So, and I think, I've been shaped by a lot of things in my life, my vocation, the work I do. I talk to so many people. I hear so many stories of life, probably like Philip. When he's has someone in that dental chair, he's just not just working on the teeth. They're telling them how this thing happened and that thing happened, and then you go, okay, I heard this. I heard this before.
Their mouths are open.
Oh, they still talk.
Oh, they do, and
We go.
and he understands them, which is the crazy part. I'm like, how did you understand what they just said?
It's another language.
Yeah.
It's another language.
So and then the other thing too, I was raised with the King James Bible, and I took to the King James Bible. And one of the things I always said to people, but I always said it to myself first: if I serve a God of justification, then who am I not to try to give justification for people and things that are coming at me? So that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not just happy-go-lucky about it. I'm just understanding it. You know, I'm understanding that man who, first of all, was forced away, then when allowed, was really still not allowed, but then years go by. Now this thing is bait for a while. Now you have a family. Now you got to go back and tell them, and you got a wife, a loving wife there. There's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
It's easy to say what you would do. Mm-hmm. You know,
If you were in that situation.
but when you get in a situation, now you got to go and say that, and then on top of that, now we've 50 years baked in the oven. This thing has been in the oven 50 years. Mama Talley's passed now, but now, man, this thing has really been baked.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know, but he knows it's going to happen. He knows it because I'm telling him all the time. Hey, you know it's going to happen.
And
You would say that to him?
He never told him not to.
Really?
Really?
Never,
Yeah, I have to say that right.
It was always Keith held back. It was JT,
Well,
Mr. Talley.
he didn't say come on over. and
No,
we're gonna
he
meet."
didn't. He didn't like encourage it, but he never discouraged him from saying anything to anybody. It was always Keith that kind of just, paced himself on when he was going to make the approach.
But sometimes you don't have to say something.
You know.
To indicate
Yeah.
that you don't want it to
Of course.
to happen at this time.
Yeah.
And so I pressed it when I did, but I would say I could have pressed it a little sooner, But if I'm the dad and I have the strings, then I would say, hey, we're gonna call Kenneth and the family. We're gonna get on the phone and let's do this. Who would I call first? Mm-hmm. I don't have Philip's number. I don't have Deidre's number. I don't have Carolyn's number. So
Right.
if this is a thing, then
He would have made it happen.
right. But I think at this point now, Philip made the point. He's in and Lisa, you said it too before. He's got the church community now.
Oh yeah.
You you got namesake but I think he was just trapped. I didn't have time to, and I don't have time to be mad at people. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just don't. I don't have time to be mad with people.
I'm learning that.
I really
I'm
don't.
learning to let go. I want to be more like you because that's my next
It's your journey.
chapter
Yeah.
is to
Well, I think
just
we need
learn
a little
how
bit
to
of both.
let go.
We need both, but I mean,
I was gonna say Keith lets all the way go.
I like to hold people
Not all the
accountable
way.
for their actions.
Yeah, he just let it go.
No, that's
like
good.
a
That's
hot piece of iron in your hand. You don't try to sit there and wait and figure out. It's hot.
Yeah.
You're gonna drop it.
Yeah.
Then you figure the rest of it out. And
Sometimes you gotta wait for the iron to cool off.
Ooh.
You don't have to just.
in your hand.
You lay it down, let it cool off. Pick it back up.
I love it. Oh yeah.
But it's.
But here we are. I mean, that generation is no longer here, and we can just start anew and get to know each other. And mean, the ones that had the questions or the answers to our questions are no longer here. So
True.
there's a lot of what ifs and wondering, and I'm learning that that's more detrimental to us to always like wonder like the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And I'm learning that sometimes it just is what it is, and maybe we wouldn't be the people that we are today if it weren't for these things that have happened. Or and then just also seeing our parents as human is another thing that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like you said, Keith, like, you know, you put yourself in his shoes. Like, if people would have found out, this is what he must have been thinking. And so I'm, you know, learning, like, with my dad not being here anymore and not getting, sorry, I'm not crying. I'm just, my voice is sore. Just not getting, I have a ton of questions about so many things, and just learning just to let it go, that I'm never going to get those answers. He was human, and, you know, and I'm stronger for certain things and situations that I was put in because of it.
And you know, and I think, you know, I always think about all of my imperfections in life.
Yeah.
Whether it's how I drive or the words I use, I know they're not perfect. So
Lisa's nodding right now. Lisa's,
She's like, yes, tell us more, Keith.
she thinks I'm perfect, but
Tell us more about
Break it
those
down.
imperfections.
no. I mean, so understanding and looking at my imperfections, and I want to have somebody give me a little grace, give me a little, hey, you know, give me a break. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not all bad.
Yeah.
I'm not all good. So I look at myself, you know, and that's how I try to judge people the way I want to be judged. And that's why I always say I'm glad that God is going to do the judging and not me and men at large, because we're not very good at judgment and the heart.
Yeah.
You know, so that's yes. Go
May I
ahead.
propose a question?
Please.
So if it were you two in that situation that your dad was in, how would you have wanted your child to approach that? Would you want him to reach out to your family, or no?
Well, knowing me,
I was just curious.
yeah, but knowing me, I probably wouldn't have done it the way he did it.
Yeah.
Knowing me, and I don't know, but I think after a time, I would have made the connection, knowing that the connection wanted to be made as well. You know, because I wasn't absent, and some say, my kids say I'm a pretty good dad, pretty good guy. They imagined me being the perfect kid, but I wasn't. They were all better than me, you know. But you know, so if it was live, I would have to move it on. I'd have to bring it to the family. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think
You were married, and you would.
The same situation. You have a family, you have an affair, you have 2 kids from that.
and that person and that child is in my life. Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's I believe now. If okay, so we know there are marriages that are battered and beat up and all kind of things. So if the mother would say, hey, please just go for the safety of all of us, then I would have to think about that part. But just all things equal, I would have to, if that person was in my life, I would have to bring that person forward.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, you can only compartmentalize so much. And I think that would just eat me up, to knowing that there was another child
Or
there.
Or 2.
Or 2 that is, you know, they're not getting the same attention from me. You know, who knows? It doesn't matter what kind of attention they get in that home, good or bad or indifferent. But I don't know. That would just eat at me, because in my mind, I'm definitely being hypocritical. You know, I can't have that conversation with my son, and I'm not doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd have to approach my wife on that one first and foremost, and just come clean. And even if you didn't come clean at that point, and that's one of the questions I would ask Dad at that point, when Mama had passed, why didn't he say anything?
Right.
Because that would have been the only.
That was always my
Obstacle.
The only thing left.
That was
Yeah.
the only thing.
Barrier.
That was one of my questions. Why, when she passed, you didn't say, "Hey."
I think after she passed, it was the church family. He didn't want to
Yeah, that's what I think.
disappoint.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Do you guys think it was maybe like the times were different,
I'm sure they were.
or is it just more individual? Like, because I don't know.
It's a little
like-
bit of everything. I don't think it's one answer to it. I'm sure it's so complicated, so convoluted that it's the times, it's the circumstances, it's everything that took place. Now that we know Keith's side of the story, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. I mean, that's what that's a whole movie.
Yeah. You guys should write a book. This could be a whole book and a movie. Yeah.
Because, and back to, I guess directly Keith did reach out to me. I guess it was 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. But, Ronnie, our cousin, said, "Hey, this guy named Keith wants to talk to you. He's from St. Louis." That was all I got. So I was like, all right. Can I give you his, your cell phone number? I said, yeah, give him my cell phone number. And Keith left a message. I didn't think anything of it. There's some telemarketer, somebody trying to sell me something. I said, if it's important, he'll call me back.
That's your brother.
I know.
He had no clue.
And I even let Lyanette
I
listen to
said,
the message.
you should call this guy back.
If it's important, he'll call me back. And
this
I
sounds-
left it at that and didn't think anything of it. So I didn't connect it until Keith was on our Zoom call. And I'm out on the deck later.
You're like, that was him.
I said, let me go through my text message from Ronnie. I said, he did say Keith from St. Louis.
You should have listened to me. Listen, I wasn't saying it because I was saying it out of nosiness.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, it's
Exactly what you were
it's not a patient because patients leave details. I'm like, he was like, this is Keith. This is my number. Give me a call back. You should call. We should find out what's going on. Like, who is this guy? Never in our wildest dreams did we think it's your brother.
No.
And he would be sitting in front of you.
Yeah, never.
No. That was not anything
That's not
I
even on your radar.
And that's another interesting thing I shared because we were having dinner and I just had one of those moments where I thought, I never imagined this part. I always imagined saying hello, who I am, and give you the story. That's
That's as far as you went with your imagination.
That's as far, right. There was no dinner after that. Not because it couldn't be, but I had to get to that point where we said hello. And then even the dinner when we were in Little Rock together, the celebration, the first time.
With Carolyn.
And
at her birthday.
Could never imagine that moment. And then the moment at Michael's. Those moments are just like bonus,
right?
So it's and I didn't mention I've had 3 bouts with cancer. You all know that now, but all along those journeys, you have these reflections and moments when you think, hey, if not now, when? If not now, when? And you shouldn't take anything for granted, because any one of those times with cancer could have been it. And
then we would have never known.
So I don't have time.
Okay.
Lisa would have called. Listen.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Lisa, I would have dropped the mic. Janelle
Janelle would have been all up
the torch.
They would.
Somebody on that side would have carried the torch. Huh?
We used to laugh and they say, "Well, Dad, when he passed, we're all going to the funeral, and we're just gonna run up to the casket and just sling ourselves over the casket, and we're gonna be screaming, oh,
That was Janelle.
Grandpa, we should have known each other
Called him
better."
Grandpa such and such.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
And your guys' side would have been like, what the heck is this?
I can hear Lyanette now.
Crazy.
Who are these people? Let's find out.
Carolyn would be cleared out. No, we gotta stop this right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Security.
Oh, my gosh.
Daddy
Yeah.
don't know these people.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh man. Yeah.
This is a wild story, and I've been wanting so badly for you guys to be on, and I'm so happy you guys are here.
Yeah.
It's been an eventful 2 years.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And you know, it's a gift. It's like Keith said, you know, you don't ever want to talk about the what ifs. You never want to think about what could have happened, or if we had done this sooner, or if this would have happened sooner. It's just a gift right now to have another brother, another sister in Lisa, and now his children, who are just, again, they're just awesome people. I can't wait to hang out with them more, build more memories. I always talk about building memories or making memories. So now we had that opportunity moving forward to make more memories, to have more life experiences, you know, like we were talking about before we got on the podcast. Hey, we're going to try to go to Napa.
Yep.
And hang out together because we both have the interests of wine, which is awesome. I'm sure Carolyn's going to be trying to get on that trip also. But it's just a matter of enjoying each other, enjoying the experiences that we have, and keeping it moving, because you can't go back to the past. None of us have a time machine. Right. So it's now a matter of what do we do with what we have and the moments that we have and the things that we can create. And looking forward to Thanksgiving here at the house, and just enjoying each other's company and other events and things that we have. So, you know, it is a gift, and we'll just keep it at that.
All right, guys. So I thank you so much. I know we can keep talking all day long.
We could.
Because we can talk about blended families, we can talk about marriage, we can talk about all the things, and I definitely still want to do that.
To be continued.
We can always do it through Zoom. You don't have to be physically here to do it. So,
I like that.
I love talking to you guys, and I thank you for sharing your story, because I know this has been a lot of unraveling. I know, Keith, for you, it's been in the works for years, but for Philip, it was like boom. so he's still processing. There's a lot of processing still going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think you keep things inside, internalize things, and process it that way. So it's good to talk about it.
And you know what? I guess I have to mention this too, because again, there's things that happen that you go, wow, you know, and so after the funeral, we go to John Kevin's, and the family talks about some inheritance. The other thing I wanted them to know was I didn't show up, you know, in the lick of time either for anything. Right? You know, all right, but you know, they shared not only with me but with my niece, who she cried. Well, I didn't expect it, but she really, this was like, no, they didn't. Mm-hmm. She said, I feel really bad now. I feel so bad. I feel so bad, you know, but I feel so good, because she just appreciated that as well. So, I mean, it was over the top.
It was like the olive branch.
Yeah.
You know, that
she needed.
And they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That was not a requirement. It wasn't expected. I mean, we just wanted to know them.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do any of that. And for them doing that, it was like the olive branch to us, that it's like, we're glad that we know you now.
Yeah.
But
Right.
likewise, they're also glad, to know Keith and his family.
Yeah.
True. But there have been markers along the way that said to me that they are who I thought they would be.
Yeah.
It's really simple, and all I had was the way I operate. And my mother would always tell me how, I don't know, how I and this family we're alike. You're like your daddy. You're like,
I see it.
right?
Yeah.
And then Lisa would say, yeah. So all these markers just continue to tell me, that they are who I thought they would be. And that was way up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would know because he stalked them. For many years.
Oh yeah, Facebook.
I was going to mention that, but I didn't know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He was a stalker.
Oh, yeah, he was a stalker.
Well, I was like, oh yeah, we have a Kaylin. We have the, yeah, I know. I'm like, how do you know these things, Keith? And he was open and honest. He was like, I've been stalking you guys for years.
Oh, yeah.
So for all you stalkers out there.
Some of it was old.
Sometimes stalking is okay.
Yeah. I am all about stalking because I'm like a little detective.
I think Janelle and Lamaya were going to schedule an appointment with Philip to have some dental work done.
And happy hours.
And say, hey, I'm your niece.
That would have been so
funny.
That would have been wild, wouldn't it?
That would.
Yeah. So
I have an ulterior motive.
That's funny. Well, thank you for stalking us.
it's been fun.
It's been great.
Yeah.
I want to do this again because there's so much more to talk about. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's been great.
Later, fam.
Bye.
I'll leave you all with this. You fall, you rise. You make mistakes. You live, you learn. You're human, not perfect. You've been hurt, but you're alive. Think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, and to chase the things you love. Sometimes there is sadness in our journey, but there's also lots of beauty. We must keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when we hurt. For we will never know what is waiting for us just around the bend. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7. And just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.
Just give me my space to move.